Good morning and welcome. Thank you all for getting up here a little early today, and I do apologize myself for being a little bit late. There was traffic back up on 91. It always seems like DOT finds this time of year when we're in session to do a little construction. Go figure. But I wanted to start off and put things in perspective. Last year, we passed a bipartisan budget that is balanced. It is actually in surplus. We have a historic high in a rainy day fund, the result of fiscal structures that the Republicans demanded in the bipartisan budget of 2017. And we've made billion-dollar deposits into debt, trying to wipe that out too. So we have a budget that works. And our Constitution requires we have a balanced budget, which we have, and really there's no need to fix that because the budget, like I say, is working. There's one area where it doesn't quite work too well, and that is in the fact that there is an over-collection of income tax, not so much income, sales and use tax, gross receipts tax, that has over-collected about $1 billion out of the taxpayers' wallets. That was not anticipated. We didn't see that, didn't need that for the budget, but yet it's being received here in Hartford, and it exceeds the revenue projections that we originally made. And that's due in large part because we have a 40-year high in inflation, a 40-year high that is now putting a crunch on every single household across the state of Connecticut, to the tune of thousands of dollars, that now middle and low-income families are having trouble meeting their budget. Kitchen table economics, they're living hand to mouth. They're having a tough time, yet their government that they pay for is awash in money. That just is not fair. It's not right. So what we're going to propose is immediate, responsible relief for these families across Connecticut that sent us here to do this, quite frankly. We are the second highest taxed state citizenry in the country. That's right, we're number 2. And for Republicans, that's uncomfortable. We don't feel good at that. That's way too close to being number 1. And budgets are about priorities. Where are we going to put those priorities? Does our state want to get to number 1? I believe the Democrats want to get there because they're not talking the same language we're talking. But to us, being number 2 is uncomfortable. We want to fall much lower than that. And with that, what we're looking at is Connecticut's choice. Do we take that over-collection of tax and keep it here in Hartford and use it to grow and increase the size and scope of our government? Or do we give it back to the people who work hard every day, getting up, just trying to live their lives and want nothing more than their government to get out of their way? We believe that's the choice. That's the right choice, particularly when we know our budget is balanced in surplus and we have historic levels in our savings accounts. People of Connecticut don't have historic levels of savings in their accounts because our government takes too much from their paycheck every week. So what we've proposed is to return that money, that $1 billion over collection, back to the people of Connecticut. And we're going to do it in various ways. First, we're going to see a savings in the sales tax. We want to do what we were doing before in reducing the 6.35 down to 5.99, eliminate that 1% surcharge on restaurants, and extend it through the end of the calendar year. We want to do the same thing with the 25-cent gas tax and extend that to the end of the year and extend it also to diesel. Also, there's the highway use tax, a tax that was imposed by the majority last year after that balanced budget was adopted for no other reason other than because they could. It was a $100 million tax that's going to be put on the transport of goods in the state of Connecticut, which is going to increase the cost of goods, which is why Connecticut's unaffordable. There's no purpose for a $100 million tax to go into effect in January when you have a balanced budget. So we want to do away with that and also accelerate and eliminate the income tax on pension and Social Security benefits. Right now it's at 56, and we would accelerate that to 100% to bring relief to people on fixed incomes. We think that's a way to bring immediate, responsible relief today. Inflation is here now, so must relief. We need and we can provide our families that help. There's more to the plan. I'm going to turn it over to Representative Candelora to go through some more of the ideas we have.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. As we've heard today, Connecticut, its economy is at a headwind. We have businesses, our job creators are concerned about what the future looks like, and certainly affordability in the state of Connecticut is a #1 issue for our residents. As they continue to be worried about filling their gas tanks and putting food on the table and meeting the challenges of inflation, our state government has taken advantage of these inflationary costs, and we have a windfall of over $1 billion this year coming into the state of Connecticut's coffers. Government is working for itself, not the people of Connecticut. And we're going to see that today when we are discussing a state employment contract that is going to cost taxpayers over $2 billion. Yet Democrats have continued to have a self-imposed cap on tax relief at $180 million. And we are suggesting that that self-imposed cap doesn't need to happen. And so in addition to the proposals that Senator Kelly pointed out, we also want to restructure our income tax in the state of Connecticut. And let's reduce the tax brackets for individuals earning $75,000 or less and households earning $175,000 or less. We would like to reduce the tax bracket from 5% to 4%. It would cost approximately $368 million annually, and it will provide relief to many of our middle-class families to the tune of over $750 a year. This is an opportunity for Connecticut to make systemic change that will help the residents of Connecticut. And so we are suggesting that change needs to happen now. We're also suggesting to put $225 million, roughly, of ARPA funds into the Unemployment Compensation Fund. You know, we continue to bang this drum for one reason alone, and that is job creation in the state of Connecticut. Massachusetts this year has now surpassed Connecticut on per capita income. That is not an achievement that we're happy about. And the Unemployment Compensation Fund is only going to drag down that wealth. And what it will do right now, if nothing is done, it's going to cost Connecticut businesses per employee over $600 a year in cost. This relief needs to come now in order to make sure that our economy continues to be jump-started. And so with that, I think we've covered our tax proposals, and I'd like to turn it back over to Senator Kelly to discuss how we are able to do all of this without a self-imposed $180 million cap.
Go through the amicus. Okay, well, first and foremost, right now, presently, there are 18 states that have brought suit against the Biden administration claiming that that cap is unconstitutional, and they've prevailed in court. There was an appeal taken to the 11th Circuit, and when that initially occurred, both myself and Representative Candelora asked the governor and our Attorney General to not sit on Connecticut's taxpayers' rights and to join those lawsuits because they have standing and because I believe the taxpayers of Connecticut need somebody to fight for them. Keep in mind that of these 18 states, there are 2 Democrat governors that have the courage to challenge the Biden administration with regards to this. And nowhere in the ARPA law does it say that if a state government overcollects on its taxes, that we are mandated to continue to do so. We don't have to continue to overtax our citizens because we took federal money. With that in mind, there are other states, Texas is one of them, who have sued in federal court and have won, basically claiming that this is unconstitutional. And should the Biden administration Justice Department take an appeal, we are now looking at joining that lawsuit with an amicus brief, because we believe that the families across Connecticut want us to fight for them and to make sure that if they've been overtaxed, that our government can give the money back. And if the governor and the attorney general won't act, we, the Republicans under this dome, will. Because the people of Connecticut sent us here to fight for them, not for government itself. And we believe, once again, like these other states, that this is unconstitutional, so there is no cap. So we can return this money, just like 18 other states are doing now, and we believe we will prevail in federal court.
We're happy to answer any questions.
What has been the conversation with the Democrats in the House and the Senate on some of these proposals? Are they just unwilling to include them in their constant talks?
Well, I think if you've heard, the Democrats have put forth a child tax credit that is going to be funded by a revenue diversion down the road in the future. And so that's tax relief that they're looking at in 2023. We all know that that's going to be a difficult haul given the deficits that we're facing. And so our proposals are actually looking at tax relief today. Even the income tax proposal would be retroactive to 2022. And beyond the child tax credit, the governor's already abandoned his property tax credit that he proposed during his campaign and currently in his budget this year. Republicans aren't willing to give up on that proposal either, and that is something that we've incorporated in our package as well. We want to expand it to everybody. Democrats continue to only offer tax relief to certain people in society. We think tax policy should be more broad than that, and so all of these policies impact, in a good way, every resident in the state of Connecticut. So our property tax credit would still be at the $200 limit, but it would be expanded to all property owners.
And keep in mind that we started asking for tax relief in January. It started looking at sales tax relief. We expanded it to gas tax relief. Only when we did that did we have a bipartisan view at bringing what I'm going to call a pause and a holiday that goes through June 30th. We want more. We can do more. We've been asking for more. But they're not out here talking to the people of Connecticut as to what they want. Instead, they're in negotiating, and we're not in there. Because I think our point and our position is clear. We believe people of Connecticut need relief now, today. Inflation is here, they're feeling the economic pinch, and they need help. The Democrats offer tax relief in the future in the form of credits, usually only after you pay taxes, you might get something back, and that's if you have property or kids. And what they're doing is negotiating how they're going to spend this over-collection and the surplus. And we're not. We're talking about how do we help people that are struggling, families trying to make ends meet, things we're sent here in Hartford to do. That's what I think. First things first. Let's help the people of Connecticut.
How are you going to pay for this amicus brief? This is going to be done with state funding? Is this going to be done with private funding? How are the lawyers going to be selected?
Caucus funds.
Caucus funds, meaning raised from private contributions or money provided by the state of Connecticut?
Well, as you know, each caucus has a budget, and we are putting money out of our budget toward this lawsuit, since our Attorney General and the Governor have failed to prioritize this issue.
And when might that happen? Well, when will it happen?
Well, first, we have to wait, should the Justice Department take an appeal of that Texas case, once it goes to the Federal Circuit Court, then we would have the opportunity to join the case.
A lot of money in Connecticut right now, right? Federal money, rainy day funds, surplus, extra tax from revenue from sales tax. But all of you have said repeatedly that the concern is over-promising. Promising municipalities, if you give them these promises and tell them we're going to cut this, how sustainable are these? I mean, your mantra has always been we need to live within our means. And yet you're proposing some major tax cuts.
Well, first, we're staying in the lane. We have a balanced budget. We have a historic rainy day fund. We're going to continue to pay down on debt. We're not even touching the surplus in that budget. What we're doing is we're taking the over-collection of the sales and use tax and the gross receipts tax, those funds that we didn't anticipate, and returning that to the taxpayers. The state received that because of inflation. And what we're doing is just returning that back to the taxpayers. So it's not affecting the budget. It's budget neutral in that sense. The budget is balanced and actually in surplus. So it's responsible.
And over half of our tax proposals are temporary. So we're using one-time revenue for one-time tax relief. The systemic change that we're talking about, where we want to reduce the income tax, we believe will actually grow our economy. The same way that Democrats believe putting money into the earned income tax credit puts money back in the economy. Our proposal is more broad-based. And additionally, investing in our unemployment compensation fund, another one-time revenue investment, is going to grow jobs and help our economy recover quicker. And so, yes, it's some short-term spending and relief for our taxpayers in order to get that long-term gain.
All of you have also put forth some of these proposals along the way. But here we are. It's 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks before the session. How productive can that really be?
Well, it can be productive if this governor would bring the parties to the table and start crafting a budget. I continue to scratch my head on the lack of interaction that the governor has with all four caucuses on these important policies. He continues to say that he wants to work together with everyone, but we have yet to see that. And we are disappointed that the governor is abandoning what little broad tax relief his budget offered. And so what we are saying today is, Governor, show some courage, join hands with the Republicans so we could get a budget that helps the entire state of Connecticut, not just a few.
And to answer that question, it's never too late to help the people of Connecticut.
OPM released an updated budget estimate yesterday showing that there's $1.1 billion more in income tax collections than anticipated the previous month. $700 million of that was through the pass-through entity tax, which is available to certain business owners. So how do you account for that? Is that inflation, or is that economic growth, or is that business success? I mean, how do we have $1.1 billion more in income taxes?
Well, I think some of that, as we've seen, is that the stock market continues to do very well. So much of Connecticut's growth is through the upper earners. And we recognize that. Wall Street does well. Wealthier people are doing well. And I think that that's why there's a little bit of a disconnect, because the people that we represent are the middle class individuals and lower income people. And so that's where we want to shift the relief. But a lot of that money that's flowed through will continue to flow through.
Well, once again, our relief is staying in the sales and use tax lane. That is the result of inflation. And that's the $1 billion, and that's what we're using to send back to families.